Hey everyone, welcome to the first episode of Just Finished, the show where we go back and look at some of the, great film and TV series that people finish through their reactions. I'm here today with Puggapillar, who had just finished Breaking Bad on his channel.
Is that really what we're gonna name the show? It's just finished.
Yeah, just finished. It's very simple, very simple.
Have we thought about the phrasing?
Yeah, help me workshop it then.
I can't think of anything else. But just finished doesn't sound right. It doesn't.
You know what? You're the perfect one to bring on for that. I think.
Oh,
you're the one that would just spot that just right away.
I know. Oh god, my brain's rotted.
Just watched? How about just watched?
Just watched worked. Just finished is. It's up there as one of the names for sure. I think we should stick with it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have this to commemorate it forever. No, but thank you so much for coming on, man. Like I said, this series is it's something I've been trying to kick off for a long time, for years actually. I did a couple of interviews with people before on my old podcast about people watching Lost and Midnight Mass and so on. But for now, I wanted to just jump into your experience with Breaking Bad. You have finished the journey of the show. It's been a long time coming. The last time you were on the Reactorverse podcast, where I talked to you about your channel in general, you were in the middle of, I think, season 2 at the time, and
yeah, I think so.
You were lamenting about the experience and like sort of what that's been, and it's definitely a part of the overall viewing experience for you. So we're definitely gonna probably touch on that as well. Just really quick though, I just want to start with Breaking Bad, obviously, it's an iconic show. It's like up there with one of the best TV shows of all times, and
I think it's considered easily like the best by many, actually. So, but it's definitely up there. Like I haven't seen that many shows, but I would easily, just by watching it, I'm like, yeah, I can see why it's so loved.
Absolutely,
for sure. I'd love to know what the other ones are, but like, yeah, it was so good. It was such a fun ride. And now, like, I've literally got Breaking Bad brain. So, like, whenever I see an RV, I'm like, Walter! Like, things like that. Like, I just can't disconnect it. It's just ruined my life.
Yeah, you'll definitely start seeing the memes and references across the internet now. Like, when they pop up.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. I did a stream the other day where I had to build that RV. It took 5 hours. And I had a great time. And any other Lego, I would have hated myself. I was like, it's not even official Lego. It's off-brand Temu Lego. And I was like, but Breaking Bad, though. And I was just having a great time.
Yeah. To kick off with the show itself, I just wanted to ask, what was your, existing knowledge of the show before you got started with it, in terms of just like, the plot, but also like the sort of reception and legacy of it?
So when did it come out? 2008? I would have been 12, so I definitely wasn't allowed to watch this show, based on the marketing and everything. What I did know about it before I started on the channel was like some of the gifs and but I didn't have context. So there were certain gifs that I saw, certain characters that I didn't have any backstory on or anything. But like watching the show, I was like, oh, I know that. But there were so many other things that I just wasn't aware of, despite it being like as big as it was, which is kind of insane. Game of Thrones on a similar level, like you see all the gifts and everything, but you watch the show and, there's 70% of it you haven't seen. There's just like the little memes, like for Game of Thrones, for example, the one of like Ned kneeling down. It's like, well, it was like one of the old school classic memes. I can't remember what it is. Anyways, that was a great point by me, actually. It makes no sense, but I said it anyway. I don't care.
I'll try to find the meme and put it in there as an insert.
I'm pretty sure it's him kneeling down or something.
Okay. But yeah, the show, I think you said came out around 2008. And I remember when it came out, it was, one of those shows, obviously in like an earlier era of like TV, viewing that we don't have now. It came out and then like it, went through the first 4 seasons and kept getting, great acclaim.
Yep.
And then they had that break in the middle of season 5.
Yeah, that would have been brutal for you guys.
Yeah, that was rough. But the thing is, that was like a year long. Now that's like the standard for like everything. Now
Yeah,
it's like
yeah, for
2 years,
sure. It's like
3 years for
3 years.
yeah,
Sometimes it's crazy.
yeah,
Mindhunter is getting looked at for 2 movies now. It's like that thing ended or it got cancelled like what 4 years ago.
yeah,
It's like the fans are just salivating at their mouth, like give me more.
yeah.
But yeah, that cliffhanger in season 5. Well, I don't know how you guys could have waited a year after that.
It was tough. It was tough. That was the. I mean, that was the. I think high era of like mid season finales. Like a lot of people
Yeah,
shows.
Walking Dead, things like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
love to leave us on cliffhangers like that. But within that year, that's when Netflix was sort of kicking off with the streaming, stuff, and Breaking Bad was on there. And within that year, that's how a lot of people found the show. They were able to binge it
yeah,
within that year and find and come
yep.
back for it when it was finally come back. So when it came back for that final half of the season, it was like just like crazy.
It was literal crack
on it. Yeah, yeah,
It was meth itself.
yeah. It's I mean, that's how you sort of described it when in your reactions when you were watching it.
So,
Like every
dude,
episode, you're
I
like,
just
I need
started
one
Better
more.
Call Saul. I'm already like, my arms itch. I'm like, fuck, it's not even intense. I'm just like, I need to watch more.
Yeah,
It's really bad. It's really
Yeah.
bad.
yeah. It is very addicting. But yeah, getting into the show itself, when you started it, obviously the first season compared to what the show turned into, it's a bit of a
Yeah.
slow burn looking back on it.
Yeah.
What were some of the first, things that sort of grabbed you with it, in the first season?
Well, I'm not sure. I did struggle a little bit through that first season, because it was slow, but and everyone had told me, oh, this show is incredible. It's the greatest show ever. It gets really good. And I'm like halfway through season 1, I'm like, but there were little sprinklings like, I think it's episode 2 or 3, the acid bath, things like that, where I'm like, I can see what they're gonna do. Like they're gonna obviously work their business up and find new ways to do all this and everything. But there were little sprinklings like that, like in the very first part episode, the way they open it with like the RV just careening through and just like through the desert and stuff, it catches you instantly. And then they have that great callback to the confession tape in, I think, season 5 or 4.
Yeah.
5. I think it's definitely 5, I'm pretty sure. But there was just little bits in there that I was like, oh, okay, I love that. I think I mainly stayed because of Jesse. I really liked Jesse in season 1. And I really, really dug, looking back, it was very comedic. Season 1 was like very much like a road trip comedy. Season 2 was a little bit of that too. And that just hooked me, was just that banter between Walter and Jesse was so funny. And I just had to keep watching. And then, obviously intrigue was like, where's this going to go? Because people obviously hype it up so much, and it got to where it was. And I was like, thank God I stuck around. But I did, when I was doing the reactions, like season 1, I ended season 1 there. I think I took like a 2-month break or something, because I was like, oh, I'm not too sure if I want to continue watching it or whatever. And then I started season 2 and I went, I've made a mistake. I should have just kept going immediately. Because that picked up. I think if I was to pick a season that's like my least favorite, I don't really know. Maybe they're all good in their own way, but season 1's definitely the slowest and was like difficult to get into based on everything I knew how good it was, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, totally. I mean, especially since when that show came out, in the time that it did, like season 1 might have been just generally more palatable for like the sort of type of TV that we had at the time. So like that was probably like something that could grab people pretty easily. For me, it was like the when they killed Crazy 8. I think that was the first.
Yes, yeah, that too.
For me, that was okay. This is gonna like kick off. This is starting to really sort of grab me. And I don't know if you've looked into like the trivia and behind the scenes stuff of it now that you finished it. But Jesse wasn't even supposed to be a main character.
I have heard that. Yeah,
like his performance is so good that they kept him around and wrote him as a main character. So it's just crazy that you said Jesse was sort of one of the things that got you hooked on it at first, and like it was such a great addition to the show. Season 1, like we said, is a slow burn. That season 2, picks things up, and I think the major hook about that is like the character dynamics, evolving.
Yes,
between Jesse,
100%.
Walter and Skylar,
the family dynamic and everything too.
Yeah.
I will happily say I was a Skylar hater. And then by the end, I was like, I feel so bad for her. And I was actually on her side. I mean, you would have seen in the reactions, but I was definitely a Skylar fan by the end. But I can't believe there's people that go through that whole thing and just hate her guts entirely. I'm like, do you not see it by the end from her perspective how like fucked all this is? Like,
Yeah.
and we're just, yeah, she sung happy birthday terribly, but let's relax. We don't, no death threats, please. Damn.
Yeah. That was, I mean, that was a big part of the show's discourse. Yeah. It's like there was a lot of vitriol towards Skylar, Anna Gunn, and, you know, her, you know, just character overall. And I think that comes from like an old era of like TV viewing. People have like a weird time like separating the character from the actor.
Yep.
And thinking that's like, that must be who they are off screen as well.
You think that era's ended? That's still a thing, buddy. People still act like that.
I think the pockets of that have just like gotten like a little more refined. So it's like you see them here, you see them there, but like before when that was on though, it was like the whole thing, like, the whole audience. Like I remember people, you know, like saying that they went to see the finale in theaters and like were cheering, you know, when
they showed it in the theaters. Really?
Yeah, in some theaters.
Wow. Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's insane.
And no, but yeah, Skylar, the evolution of Skylar's character throughout the show is something that I think a lot of reactors have an easier time, you know, digesting because you're able to watch it in a binge model a little more than like, you know, like the
week to week release.
Yeah, so you're able to see that those changes a little more clearly. Even the parts where she, you know, digresses and like, you know, goes back, she, you know, sleeps with Ted, so on, and she gets revenge. But in the grand picture of things, you're able to sort of comprehend that she is very much a victim of the whole thing. And
yeah, for sure.
It takes the big picture to see how terrible Walter really is. Cause like to me, that's the real sort of ultimate, you know, M. Night Shyamalan twist or like, you know, reveal prestige moment of it is that the first half of the series, like you want to root for Walter because he's the main character. And then you realize by the last and a half season or so that he is pretty much the main villain of the show.
Yeah. I thought it was Marie. Fuck Marie. I'll say it is. She sucks. No, we don't like Marie.
Marie's not great.
She's the main villain.
Yeah, but Betsy Brand was really great in that role too. I mean, that's the thing too, especially with you know, Hank, you know, just being the other foil to like Walter's character in that series. Even the characters that, you know, can be annoying or can be, you know, like aggressively so obnoxious in certain senses, they're also fleshed out really well. And Hank, I think, is like the really epitome of that, is showing someone who was such a loud, boisterous sort of like douche in the beginning, and then he becomes like real hero halfway through the series, and you root for him. I mean, I remember watching recently your reaction to him versus Tuco in the shootout, and just dude, you know, just what that does to you, like what that does to people watching it.
The thing with that one in particular was I didn't expect Tuco to go that quickly. And that was the shock, because I was like, I'm liking Tuco already. And for him, you know, spoilers for Better Call Saul, but him in Better Call Saul currently, I'm like, oh, thank God you're back. It's so good to hear that just accent and just that exuberated personality that he has. It was such a shame to be like, well, I can't remember what episode it was, but like 2 seasons in, he's like 6 episodes and he's dead. I'm like, oh yeah. So it's so good.
Yeah, they definitely, you know, zig where you expect them to zag. I mean, tons of times in your reactions, you would call out, you'd be like, "The episode's gonna end right now. It's gonna end right now," and then it would upset me so much because you think it's gonna cut off and like leave you on a cliffhanger, but like they usually end up giving you a little more than you even expected. So that was just like a fun way to see you sort of like
made me so upset. It's like a love-hate relationship with the show, to be honest. Like I loved it. But the stress it would put me under it was not good. And then having to go and edit that shit down, I was like, fuck you.
Yeah.
But it was so good. It was such a good experience. And like I found out one of the episodes that I love personally, a lot of people don't like, and I'm like, why? It was so good. That fly episode.
The fly. Yeah.
I love that episode.
Yeah, that just comes from the time in which the show was, you know, the show is like every episode is like gold. It's like really, there's like no bad episode, including The Fly. But The Fly is a bottle episode. And so comparatively, I think people, go into it wanting the same momentum, and when they saw it, when it aired, it was like, what is this? Like, we're not getting any.
I had so much fun with it, dude. I love that episode. Fleisenberg is going to live in my head forever.
Yeah. But you're talking about like, the editing process of it and everything that you went through, to get it up. Again, when we talked about, last time on the podcast, you mentioned how the videos themselves, were up and down, like viewership, interaction. So it was like on the bubble for you in terms of like if you're going to keep it going on the channel or not, but you were mostly driven by how good the show was to keep going. How did that sort of evolve, as the show just kept amping up more and more?
That was the really tough call, honestly, was the videos weren't doing great, and editing TV shows, so much time goes into it, obviously, compared to a movie, because you're spending 66 episodes compared to like an hour and a half, so it's drastically longer. So to be putting them out every week on a weekly basis, and they weren't doing well when I could have been focusing on other more popular stuff, sucked a lot. And then I also had to deal with the mentality of comments like, can you just release more instead of that like weekly release model, which is what the show was doing when it was airing, by the way. It was week to week, but like, binge model stuff and that now just has ruined that experience. So everybody needs it now. I remember specifically the last couple of episodes, people like post one every single day. And I was like, you don't understand YouTube's algorithm. You can't do that. It will bury the latest one because you posted one the day before. But it's just people being like, a week. I remember one comment in particular was like, a week is too long between posts. Bro, that is how the show aired, my man. That is how the show aired.
Right, the station, by AMC.
Crazy. But the thing that was really killer was what you said was the show was getting progressively more intense, but I was maybe half a season or a season behind on the edit. So I finished recording the whole show in September, and I just recently posted the finale, but I'd scheduled them all months in advance. But yeah, it was that like, if I stop it now, I'm stopping it before it hits its peak, but also the show is too good to stop, and that was the thing that was killing me. And that's the thing with Better Call Saul that's upsetting me too, is because Breaking Bad was so good, and now I'm being told the same thing happens in Better Call Saul. I'm like,
not to add more fuel to the fire, but in my opinion, I like Better Call Saul more than Breaking Bad. Honestly.
So many people have said that, and it pisses me off so much because I'm like, how? How does it get better than that? Honestly, I don't know.
Yeah, you'll get into it. And no spoilers for sure, but like, Better Call Saul, in my opinion, is like the best prequel thing ever.
Yeah,
like,
I've heard that.
Just like it does so much to enhance Breaking Bad and your experience with that. It doesn't, retcon anything or like, like undermine something. It just like enhances it as one complete project, in my opinion. So I'm really
insane.
If you get through that, even if you don't put it up, I'm just excited for you to
I'm definitely going to put it up, but like as I said, it's probably going to be the last show I do because they're so taxing. Like it's fucked trying to get through copyright and everything for them. So thank God they haven't got another prequel Breaking Bad show or anything. That would upset me a lot.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe by the time you're done, they'll announce.
They announce like a Mike prequel or something.
Oh my God, yeah.
That'd be so fucked.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely be in for that. I mean, Mike was such my favorite character of both series. Honestly,
he was so good.
Yeah, but season 2 has a different dynamic with it because it has the tease that we're building up to. Every episode, it's the tease, the flash forwards of the plane crash that we're getting teased through with the black and white flash forwards. And so that's like something, again, when people were watching it, or like theorizing and really anticipating what it's going to be, like an explosion at the house, like a shootout, whatever. And then we get to the plane crash, and it kind of does pull the rug out from you under a little bit. And you sort of
for sure
express that in your reaction, how
involving the characters that caused it too. Like, like it's not even some not some drug attack at the house or anything. It's, Jane's dad. And you're like, what the hell? Like, you don't expect that spiral from Jane's death to then, result in the end of the season with the explosion.
Yeah,
Um,
and yeah,
for
and how like
sure.
it sort of ends where we started, which is just the tease. End
Oh,
right
I
with the
love that. I think you would know because you know all the fun facts. The episodes, certain episodes spell out like plane down over Albuquerque or
yeah,
something.
it's like 737 down over ABQ. Yeah,
That's genius. That
yeah,
is so smart. I
yeah.
love that.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much details in the show, and it's funny. It became, I don't know if you'll see it now, but like it became a meme or like a trope by the last season that of people over analyzing the show of like
Yeah, I
every little
bet.
frame and like
I
Walter's
bet.
ice here means that he's like insidious about like this thing, and Maria's Marie's pink is this and that, and so
It would have
it
been
was a very funny experience.
insufferable, man. It would have been like Stranger Things fans for the final season coming out. They're
Yeah,
analyzing everything. I'm like, please stop.
yeah. Yeah, and then season 3 is where we obviously introduce Gus and
Yep.
Giancarlo Esposito like being such a fantastic actor. I remember watching your reaction to that and you being so confused because you're like, wait, this guy's like a
Yeah,
big actor. Why is he
I
on the
know
show? Why
that
is he
guy.
just here in a bit part? And
That's
yeah,
my favorite thing, though, is watching old media and then recognizing someone. And I'm like, oh my God, your career like explodes, not the right word for Gus, but you know what I mean? Like, we saw your career just go.
yeah. Yeah, it's crazy when you see that in a movie or something, a cameo from like a big actor, where like they have like one line though, and then they're out of there. You're
Yeah.
okay. I guess they made it out. They're one of the ones.
But the crazy thing is what you were saying about like Aaron Paul is if he didn't do as well as Jesse, like he wouldn't be who he is today. He wouldn't have that big role. He would probably still be some like nobody actor that was a side character in Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, the way he portrayed Jesse in that, like he got his own spin-off movie and stuff like that, and like he still lives as Jesse today in parody commercials and stuff like that, and it's literally made his career. So it's insane. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's one of those roles, him and and Walter, Bryan Cranston, where it's like once you're done with that, you can almost like hang it up. It's like you don't have to do
legit,
anything else.
for sure.
That role's gonna stick in the pop culture legacy for forever.
Well, Bryan Cranston's always going to be known as Walter White now. But it's so funny that like juxtaposition between people knowing him as Walter White and then other people knowing him as the dad from Malcolm in the Middle.
Yeah,
it's so funny.
Yeah, which is coming back now. So I'm gonna.
I know.
Funny return.
All the memes, I tell you, all the memes that come out when that revival comes out about him being Walter White is going to be hilarious to see.
Yeah,
they'll probably write in some jokes or something. Someone sent me some parody ending or alternate ending to Malcolm in the Middle where like Hal wakes up and he's like, I was dreaming I was this driver, and then Lois is like, oh, like, no, you weren't. You would never be able to do that. Or like, it was actually the actors in that too. It was hilarious. Yeah. So I really hope they lean into that stuff. That'd be so funny. But yeah, he's like that's his role for his life now. Is for sure is Walter White.
Yeah, and he brought some of that obviously comedic elements, like you said, to the show and to Walter. Like the comedy in it was like such a nice little like salt on top of it, on everything, all the drama and the action.
Yeah, absolutely.
And season 3, like we said, it's Gus. Then we also meet Saul and Mike, and like the whole world sort of expands in that season. You start getting a bigger picture of like the operations going on. And like I said, Mike is my favorite character of both shows, Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. And again, I don't know if you know,
how did that death hit you?
Frustrating, very frustrating.
What was your reaction on like the day that aired?
It's one of those deaths where it's like it's so frustrating. Like you want to jump to the TV and like just kill Walter, just because it's there's so unfair that you get the job on him like this. Like it's after everything he's done, how smart he is. Like you just get the job for being so dumb, like being a bad chess player that you manage to like get it one up on your opponent like that.
It's that little walk and strut that he does towards him at the end that gets me. The little like speed walk.
Yeah.
It's like, we don't have to do all that, man. All right, relax.
Yeah. But with Mike's character, I like I said, he wasn't supposed to be a part of the show at first. Like
Yeah.
he filled in for the episode with where Jane dies because Saul Bob Odenkirk couldn't make it to set
Mm-hmm.
that day, so they just wrote
Yeah.
a new character, and he blew it out of the water. Like and there's so much of the show that works like that. That's
It's
just
so
a
interesting because, like, what would
happenstance.
the show look like if, if Bob Odenkirk was there on the day and Jesse was killed off or whatever? What would the show look like? Would it be the
Yeah,
same but without Jesse, or would it have been Gale on the side? Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
right.
it's
Yeah,
so interesting to theorize that stuff when you're told it.
yeah, all the what ifs and so on.
Mm.
But yeah, when we get through that season, really I love the again the escalation of Hank's character compared to everything that's going on, because we see him get attacked by the twins and
Mm-hmm.
shootout and so on, and that's the sort of middle ground of him being framed as, yes, like the protagonist almost of the story,
Yes. Yeah.
as
Yeah.
Walter descends further and further into like his fucking ego. And yeah, I guess what
You're
was that like
starting to
for
see
you?
that the mouth. You're like, fucking Walter. I remember.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's just so frustrating to rewatch it, like just knowing how everything sort of progresses.
Yeah, for sure. You're like, can I change the narrative myself somehow? And no,
Yeah.
you just got to ride the wave again.
Yeah. But yeah, once you got the landscape of all those characters now that we have, I guess, yeah, how did you sort of start digesting the show with everyone, like in terms of like the story, and how was the experience for you getting into the larger aspects of it?
So like I would find certain characters like Marie and stuff insufferable, but they worked really well with other characters, and I really like seeing new people introduced and how that dynamic works with the show. So when bringing Gus and stuff in was completely like different. It was like this restaurant owner, he's operating businesses behind the scenes, has a fucking giant chicken farm. Like just the way I love seeing how a world just like expands. So like,
Yeah.
you season 1, you have pretty much the house, the school, where else? The desert. And then from there, it just like, it's like it expands in states, and it just got bigger and bigger. And they do the same with the characters. And learning more about the characters as time goes on, I love that as well. So Mike, we learnt more about Mike and him being the hitman. Saul being like this flamboyant, dodgy lawyer. And just like, I love having fun with side characters like that, because otherwise you would get so bored with the main cast.
Yeah.
Like if it was literally just a show about Walter and Jesse all the time, you didn't have the side characters or anything, I feel like it would have got stale really quick. But introducing all these other characters that just bring so much to it made it so much more enjoyable to watch. Also made it so much more fun for me to crack jokes with, because there were different personalities and stuff like that, and I could work little quips and stuff into it. But yeah, I really like that, because you're like, also, oh, they're my favorite character, and then like 2 episodes later someone new gets introduced and you're like, they're my new favorite character. It's like, oh
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild, like you mentioned, like how, yes, Walter and Jesse being the main characters of the show are elevated so much by the surrounding cast. And
for sure, absolutely.
it's funny looking at the big picture, because like they are basically like the clowns of the show, and everyone's like straight, everyone's like just like begging these guys.
Oh, liar.
Yeah. It's like a comedy of errors, just like throughout the whole series of like these two goofs, like taking down this whole drug empire, essentially.
Dude, when they like cook in the desert and Jesse leaves the keys in the ignition. It's just so good to have a show with like, well, that's that intense, but has like those comedic aspects. I love stuff like that, because it de-stresses me. It makes me have a laugh. Just so many good moments.
Yeah. And Gus's character obviously is just like such an interesting foil to Walter. When they meet, they're expressed that they're supposed to be very similar. Walter just being like the sort of chaotic Joker version of Gus.
Yeah.
And the season 4 is when we get some more exposition on him and his backstory, the rivalry with Hector and so on, and eventually his death. I remember people saying that they kind of
Spoilers.
wish the series, and when it aired, I think now everyone's come around, that the series, like, when it would have been, great if it ended with Gus's death and that being sort of the end of it. But I think this final season obviously is supposed to be like very deliberately focused on Walter's downfall.
Yeah, well, I
Reach
think
the
I
top.
said it in the end of season 4. I was like, I think season 5's Walter's going to be the main villain because
Mhm.
the power gets to his head, which is what happens.
Yeah.
But they set that stone so early on as well at that dinner that they were all having, and he's like, "Oh, what if Walter White's still out there and you didn't catch him?" Or sorry, what if Walter White's still out there? Moron. What if he's sitting at the table, dickhead? What if Heisenberg's still out there? You didn't catch your guy, and then that laid the seed to be like, Hank's like, hang on, what if I didn't catch him? Because if he hadn't asked that question, it wouldn't have progressed the way it did.
Yeah.
So him asking that simple question because he let a little bit of alcohol get to his head and the ego come out, it like literally cemented that there's a path that's going to be followed here. And then, yeah, with season 4 ending, I was like, I reckon we're going to have Walter as the villain. And then,
Yep.
yeah, all the comments like, he's not a villain. Go, Walter. I'm like, no. We're not understanding what's happening here. God, there are a lot of arguments I had with commenters. But anyways.
That's a common theme I've seen on some other reaction channels in the series, is like they, in the first half when they're rooting for Walter, they're like, oh my God, he's going to do it. Like, yeah, like you'll see comments being like, you shouldn't be cheering for him. Like, he's not, like, Walter's actually not a good guy. I hope you know. And then like when they did the last season, like, you're seeing like, oh, he's such a terrible person. You're like, he's not like a terrible person. He was doing it for the family. And like, like it flops back and forth. It's such a common thing in the comments I've seen from
It's
other channels.
hilarious to witness too. It's like the commenters and that are like that, especially by the end. They're like, he didn't do anything wrong, blah, blah. It's like, take 5 minutes, sit down and just think about it, okay?
Yeah.
Like just submit. You don't need to be like, he's the best, he's done nothing wrong. Skylar's a bitch, that's why he did it all. It's like, just think about it, man.
Yeah.
Think about how many people he got killed and everything like that, and then reassess.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's something that I think the show sort of tries to, grapple with and sort of, tease out to you, is like, how far can we take the justification, for what he's doing for his family, for the money, for his survival. I think the breaking point of that is obviously, Ozymandias, the big episode where Hank dies, and that's where everything comes crashing down. And I think that's supposed to be like the show telling you, like, is everything's sort of off the table now. Like, he has officially crossed the line, and he can no point of no return.
Literally, I think it's regarded as the best episode of a TV series ever, and I agree.
Yeah.
That was fucking rough. That was a rough episode, man.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was a big event, when it happened. I know I don't know if you saw, like, they were teasing it with like promotional materials, like they had like a short, AMC released a short video of Bryan Cranston reading the Ozymandias poem. That was just like a 1 minute teaser, like him talking about like his ruined empire and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So everyone knew it was going to be a big episode.
No, I didn't know. I wasn't part of that like zeitgeist back then, so I wasn't aware of all the like the promos or anything. Like, I wasn't interested, so I didn't watch any of the. I think I was watching The Walking Dead at the time, honestly.
Yeah,
which I probably would have been. Yeah, I wasn't aware of like all the promos or anything. But to kill that man 3 minutes into the episode, are you kidding? I had to sit there and fucking eyes sore and headache for 40 minutes.
Yeah. Oh. I forgot. Did you watch the previous episode and that episode like together, back to back?
I think I had to. Yeah. I think it ended and I was like, I got it. Or I had a day break. Mm-hmm. I think I watched episode 13. And then like my daughter and that were coming home, so I couldn't watch another one, and I had to literally watch the next one the next morning as soon as I got up.
Right.
And then I didn't watch another one for 3 weeks.
Right.
Even though I could have binged it, I was like, fuck this show, I'm not watching another one.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like you said, that show is regarded as one of the best, episodes of television of all time. And that's, so much, built upon the entire series. Like the entire series.
Like it's not just that, like Anna Gunn's performance and that too in that episode. Like holy moly. Just everything about that episode is just a 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
I genuinely thought they were going to kill Jesse as well, and I was like, if they do that, I don't care. I'm not watching the last two. I can't do it.
Yeah.
Like killing Hank and Jesse, which were like my two favorites.
Yeah.
Like I'm out, and I would have pulled the plug. I would have been like, I can't do it.
Yeah. It's they definitely frame it that way when watching it back. You know, like they do. I mean, it's directed by Ryan Johnson, you know, as obviously a big, you know, filmmaker, and he, you know, frames it very well. Where like you honestly can't believe just through the way it's shot and like edited that Jesse could die at that moment.
Well, it's just the way it was like you knew there was like 2 episodes. Oh, I knew there were 2 episodes left, and I'm like, what are they gonna do? Like, because this is the time where you can just kill someone off and then deal with the ramifications afterwards. For like the last couple of episodes, I was like, they might just do it. And I was like, you know, seeing The Walking Dead and a certain episode in that show with the introduction of Negan and a couple of characters there, I was like, you know, one character is a possibility for sure, but there's definitely a chance for multiple too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they just spiraled from there. So.
Yeah, I mean that was the era of television where yes, we had The Walking Dead, like Game of Thrones was starting up, and so like it was that sort of you know zeitgeist thing where it's like oh anyone can go at any time. That was like
nobody's safe.
Trend, you know, for a lot.
Oh, that Game of Thrones I think set that really well. Was nobody's safe. So
yeah,
exactly. Nobody was.
And yeah, I think one of the hallmarks of that episode is like the 2 things: the fight with Walter and Skylar, you know, when they're fighting over the knife, and then Walter's phone call to her to sort of like to get her off the hook for you know everything that her involved.
See, I didn't think of that at the time. All the comments on that video are like, "Hey man, how do you miss this?" I was upset. My brain was not working. I had tears down my face. I was not thinking Walter was doing something decent here because he didn't do a decent thing the whole episode.
Yeah, it's.
But now it's clear to me that it was like set up to get Skylar off the hook.
Yeah, some people missed it, like for sure when it came out, and even now I've seen some reactors miss it. It's just like again, like I think the emotions overtake you, and you're just like, absolutely. I can't see him as something else right now.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the things that like annoyed me too was for some reason I thought Todd was a good guy for a little bit.
Yeah. Well, he has like this, like sort of like you know humdrum, you know, oh shucks kind of attitude at first. Yeah. Like it kind of it's a little bit disarming. I think that's
and then El Camino. I was like, I think I remember him being a good. No, he's not.
No, El Camino's so funny though. So funny how the stuff that they reveal about him, like his home and like his
how he ate the crystal meth instead of sold it.
Yeah. Everyone called him Meth Damon when that came out. My favorite theory about not theory, but just like assessment of the show and Walter's character is, you know, it's almost like a Jekyll and Hyde type of dynamic where as the show goes on, like Heisenberg is slowly taking him over more and more. And
I think it's the hat. I think the hat is a good signifier of like that's Heisenberg. If you see the hat in the scene, that's when that character comes out.
Yeah, and when in the season 4 finale, when he crawl space, when he has to, you know, go against Gus,
so good.
For marbles, like people say, like that it's framed as if you know coming out of the crawl space with him laying there. That's supposed to be you know the death of Walter White, and then Heisenberg takes over, and even the next episode, he's sitting by the pool.
I mean, Heisenberg would take over me if my wife ended up fucking Ted. So I agree,
giving him all the money.
Yeah, I fucked Ted and I gave him the money. So
yeah,
I would turn into Heisenberg too.
Yeah, even the next episode is called "We're Born Again When We Die," and it's so
you need to get Skylar on this for Just Finished.
Yeah, that'd be great. In season 5, I think the main antagonist is like the neo-Nazis. That was the one I think sort of ultimate questionable thing people had about the last season is like in terms of like villains or antagonists. Like people were befuddled that that would be the sort of like final you know antagonistic unit that we had to face.
Yeah, well, I think the main villain was Walter, but you did have to have some side character of sorts. You've also had Lydia. So Lydia was also a villain I would consider. So you'd introduce like a couple of villains in the end. One of them, the big one being Walter. But you also couldn't have him be the villain for 16 episodes, so you would definitely need to balance that out with some other character that is just as bad. Obviously, Nazis, terrible.
Yeah.
So to have another villain in there that you could hate more than Walter is probably half the reason why a lot of people, like, I'm on Team Walter still, because they had, Nazis and that in there. So it's like someone easier to hate. It's like, let's go after them. We hate them.
All right. Yeah. And yeah, we get the I think it's the last episode. Yeah, we get the final sort of confession of his, him saying that he did it for himself, and that's like sort of the relief that I think Skylar can have, and I think the audience can like also get that it's obviously he's coming to terms with the fact that this is the initial Geist was under the thing that he's doing for his family, but it really was like this sort of like ego trip that he's doing to make himself feel seen and known, and by the end like we are able to get that final standoff with him. And yeah, I guess to wrap up the whole show, and I guess getting into El Camino as well, what were your thoughts on that last season and how things sort of resolved?
The start of season 5 was slow, which was surprising considering how season 4 ended. So yeah, season 5 I believe was like they opened up with that that guy that worked in some other places, was like friends with Gus or whatever, and I thought he was going to be like the next big bad. No, he ended up killing himself with a like defibrillator thing in a bathroom. I was like, oh, sick. So I didn't know, I had no idea where this was going, and then they introduced Lydia, and she was stressing me out every time she spoke. So I was like, oh, sick. This is going to be fun. So I was kind of confused with what they were going to do, and where it was going to head. I knew Walter was obviously in the deep end. He was going bad. He was Breaking Bad. And I was like, where's this going to go from here? And then, that's when the seeds start getting laid that Hank is on his tail. And that's when he's trying to like divert him to be like, no, because he kept getting too close. And obviously it leads to what it led to, which was like Hank finding out through the book that it was Willy Wonka the whole time. And then, just like you could see it progressively getting worse and worse as it went on, like in the best way possible. And that's what hooked me into the final season, because it was like literally watching a train wreck, but you like couldn't look away. You're just like, oh, there's a couple of oh, there's a couple more. Wow, that's a decapitated body right there. Like it just gets worse, but I can't stop watching. And then, by the end, it's just like your body's sore, you hurt. I really enjoyed the last season, though. I think, like, if I was to pick a favorite, it'd be really difficult because they're all so good. But it would have to be between like season 4 and 5. Right. Season 5 had that weird opening episode intro, which was corrupted on my end, so I had to like edit some montage. It was like a knife party with the cars, and like I'm so upset that footage was corrupted because I had so much fun with that. I literally went back and replayed that intro about 3 times because it was just, I love Knife Party. I've been like, when I was a teenager, they're like one of my favorite electronic bands. So like hearing them be in the show, I was like, what the hell? Like I thought I'd seen everything with the show, and then Walter and Flynn rock up with the new whips and Knife Party playing. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? So it's just like seeing it unravel, because you really do think, oh, it can't get worse than this. And it does every single time. It's so impressive.
Yeah.
So that's what kept me watching for sure.
And
I did enjoy season 5. Was I satisfied with
the ending, with the resolution?
Yeah, absolutely. The way it wrapped up, I think, was really, really good. And reading some comments on that from the finale and stuff was like kind of eye-opening, because there were things I didn't click on. So like, or I did, I can't really remember. But the fact that he technically did get away with it all in the end, was insane to me, because he said, I'll never end up in like a prison cell or anything, to Hank, and Hank's like, I'll put you under the fucking jail. I nearly had a heart attack at that scene, by the way. But like, him being like, I'll never end up in a cell, and then by the end he doesn't, like the police are literally this close, about 5 seconds quicker, and they probably would have got him. But he got away with it. I think he smirks as it like pans out or something.
Oh, really?
I think he smiles. And then I was watching like a behind the scenes thing for El Camino, and one of the actual like tanks that they have still had Bryan Cranston's like handprint on it.
Right.
But you like, if you don't like, it's difficult to notice, but you have to be like super clued on to spot it. I wasn't able to like see it when I was editing the movie back, but like, even for me, which I never do this, to like go and look at behind the scenes stuff for shows and movies, I never ever do that. Because like, as much as I love film production and everything, I just don't have the time to sit down and watch another 45 minutes of how it was made.
Yeah.
So for me to go out of my way to be like, all right, I'm going to watch how this was made and everything, like goes to show you how much of a fan of the show I am. I am quite happy with how it wrapped up. And I feel like it doesn't leave you wanting more. Though then Better Call Saul came along and people were obviously wanting more, weren't they? So El Camino came along and, you know, spoilers for that, but Walter White has a cameo and I lost my mind. So obviously I was still wanting more. But I feel like that's any show, is if it ends well, and it's so rare for a show these days to end well and fans to be, you know, universally happy with how it ended. But I don't think I ever see anybody say Breaking Bad ended badly. I feel like it ended the best way it could. I don't think Walter should have got away, which, you know, he didn't. But also having him die but still technically get away is a great way of having that resolve. And I also think it would have just left fans definitely wanting more and confused if he had gotten caught by the police, because like there is a whole nother season there of the police interrogating him, finding out why he did everything, if he tries to get his way out of that, dealing with Hank's death and everything like that. So they kind of had to kill him really, or it would have just kept going.
Yeah, I think the open-ended question people had when it ended was, yes, like what happened to Jesse, which they eventually, answered.
They went and did that.
Yeah, how do you feel about that as a pseudo, additional finale?
I really liked El Camino. I don't think it was really necessary. I think, it leaves us with the exact same ending Breaking Bad leaves us with for Jesse, was he just goes away somewhere else and lives his life. However, Breaking Bad's finale is drastically different because he careens out of there, and is screaming, crying, whatever. So, you're left to your imagination to imagine what he does next. And then El Camino does the exact same thing as he goes to Alaska and then drives off and goes and lives his life, which is we just did this. But that's kind of what would have had to have happened, because you couldn't obviously kill Jesse in that movie or anything. But where do you go with a character like that? So I think that's why they had to introduce all the flashbacks and everything for El Camino, because there isn't too much to do with him once he got out. All these friends and stuff, he can't be friends with them anymore. All these other girlfriends and that are dead. He's got nobody. So I don't really see a point in El Camino. As much as I did enjoy it, I wouldn't say it was necessary. I think it answers just the sort of immediate answer, question of did he get caught by the cops? They were right there. How did he get away? So it just fleshes out a little bit of those sort of nitpicky questions. I think it's more so a movie for the fans. Absolutely. It's definitely not one for casual viewers. I feel like a casual viewer would put it on and be like, didn't like that at all. But a diehard fan with all the cameos from other characters and stuff, I think would really love it. Which, I think I'm a pretty hardcore fan now. But even I was psyched about seeing certain characters, and I'd literally finished the show 3 days before I watched that movie. So I finished the series, and I wasn't longing for more. I was just all all right, let's watch the movie now. And then, yeah, the characters popped up again. I'm like, yeah! It's like, I just saw them 3 days ago. You guys had to wait 4 years. Like,
yeah. It was a different experience. I saw that one in theaters. That one was released in theaters.
Yeah, I do remember that. I do remember, like, local cinemas and that having that movie show, which was crazy. Because, like, obviously I hadn't seen the show. So I was like, oh, they got a movie coming out too. So, yeah, I don't remember a lot about the like movie coming out, but I remember cinemas were showing it, which is kind of crazy. And especially since you said they were showing the finale at certain cinemas, like that would have been crazy.
Yeah, I wish more shows would do that, like show their premieres or finales at theaters. That was such a great experience.
Well, Stranger Things should have really done that with their 1.5 hour long episodes, but they didn't. So
we'll see how that goes. But to look forward to, I guess, everything. How far are you in Better Call Saul, and like, what is your thoughts on that so far? Two
episodes, yeah. Okay. Episode 1's already got me hooked. That was the one with a necrophilia case. I didn't expect that. Episode 2, I think what's going to keep me watching the show is the cameos from the old characters. And the thing with it is I don't understand how people are saying it's better than Breaking Bad. I don't understand where the show's going to lead, because I know it's going to be, some flashbacks and flash forwards and whatever. I don't know how, like, I don't understand the show, what it's going to be. Is it him becoming a lawyer? Like, is it the same sort of thing? Because we know what he ends up being in Breaking Bad and what happens. So I'm just like, how are they going to twist the knife in me this time?
Yeah. It's a great another great magic trick. So I'm excited.
That's what I mean, and that's why I'm interested, because I'm like, where is this gonna go? Because like I genuinely have no clue as to what they can do. Because when you have a prequel show, if you have side characters that died in the main show, so like Mike and that in Better Call Saul, I'm like, well, nothing's gonna happen to him because it happens in Breaking Bad. So it's like, that's where I'm confused, because it's like I can be attached to these characters without having to worry that they're going to die or anything. It's these new ones where I'm like, what? They weren't in Breaking Bad. Who are these?
That's the new thing. Where it's like, what happens the new one?
Yeah, but it's like it's like it throws you off a little bit, because you're seeing these characters that are dead or aren't around, and you're like, okay, so I know nothing is going to happen to them, but you're still trying to convince me something is about to happen to them.
Yeah.
I think that's why I'm going to like stick around and enjoy it, is because like, I love Mike just as much as you probably like Mike. I ended up loving Saul, and that's, could be his douchebag personality, charisma, confidence, which is Jimmy. Something I always like.
Yeah. I loved your. I got a sneak peek of your reaction for the first episode, and I love your reaction too, Jimmy. Name Jimmy.
Well, apparently on my Patreon, people were saying they said it in Breaking Bad. I'm like, I do not remember that. I do not remember him saying his name was Jimmy.
I don't think he says his first name, but he says when they meet for the first time, he says his name is McGill. Actually,
yeah, I don't remember that at all. So yeah, that's fun. I'm already getting in arguments about it. So that's good. I'm having a lot of people, and this is a character I haven't met yet, a lot of people saying I'm gonna like Lalo. Lalo.
Yeah, it's not that much of a spoiler. It is just a reference to when they first meet Saul and take him out to the desert.
Yes, I remember that, because he was in the desert.
The Lalo studio. Yeah.
But I've been told that he's going to be like one of my favorites, because it's like my sort of personality.
Yeah. So I
don't know what the fuck that means, but
no spoilers. I want to see when you get there. I want to see it for sure.
Yeah. So I'm excited. I might even watch some episodes today.
Good. I get to it. Man, thank you so much for coming on.
Let me ask you some questions.
Sure, please.
Let me ask you some questions. Favorite episode?
The obvious one is Ozymandias.
But let's not go generic.
Yeah. So a more niche one, I would say. I really like the just the initial meeting with Walter and Gus I think
Yeah.
that just like again from the way that sort of just blows up in the world.
Yeah, and the way like Gus holds himself compared to
And
Walter and stuff.
yeah, Walter having to
Yeah.
miss, his daughter's birth and so on with
Hmm.
the stakes of that. I think that's just like a really great one. That would also next to be the one with Jane's death. I just think the acting on
Yeah.
that in that episode is just so incredible, and it's so like elevated in the entire show.
Hmm. So outside of like Mike's death, like saddest other death.
Yeah, outside of Mike's death for sure. uh, Probably again Hank is the easy one. But next to
Yeah.
Hank would be Gomi. I mean, I really liked Gomi.
And isn't it crazy they didn't even show him die? They just like,
yeah,
to leave that impact, like, so it's more hard when it's Hank. They just like, oh, he's dead on the ground already.
Yeah, I think that sets the
Poor
tone
guy.
of like you just sets the dread in you, like oh fuck, like
the shock factor of it all,
this is
for
it.
sure.
Like,
yeah,
Gomi's down.
absolutely.
We're not coming back from this. Yeah.
Did you hate Marie as much as I hated Marie?
On multiple rewatches, obviously, I don't hate her as much. I don't think she's as redeemed as Skylar is, throughout the series. I do feel for her in the last season when she finds out Hank is dead and so on. Like I think
for
that
sure.
unites her in a big way. So like that, I feel like that wraps in my head around her overall character. But she is definitely probably one of the more obnoxious characters in the show.
And she loves spoons. Who the fuck likes to collect spoons, by the way? Grandmas. Grandmas like collecting spoons.
Yeah.
Like favorite season for you?
That's a good one. Yeah, I think it is between 4 and 5, like you said. I really love the era where Jesse is separating from Walt and going to Mexico and hanging out more with Mike.
Yeah, that was a curveball.
I think that just informs both those characters so well, like Jesse and Mike's like relationship that builds through that. It's such an important element of like the motivations going into like the remainder of that series. And yeah, I love when Gus finally takes out Don Eladio and the rest of the cartel.
Yeah. Do you think it ended well? Do you like the ending?
I do, yeah. Like I watched it when it aired. I remember watching it in my editing bay with my coworkers because I was at work the next morning when it aired, and we all wanted to watch it together. And so
you were doing reactions before reactions were a thing.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It was I remember being pretty satisfied with it. I like you, I couldn't really think of any other alternative for how it could have ended. With Walter getting away or whatever. I guess I was might have been a little bit in the camp of like what would have happened to Jesse, but it wasn't something that I feel like I really needed to have answered.
So it seems you watched it as like a group. Was it like the ending to the Truman Show where it ended and then you were what's next, guys? Like you just like, let's get back to work. What are we watching next?
Yeah. Well, luckily, again, like I said, that was the era of like Walking Dead, Game of Thrones. So like,
So you were like, let's watch season 8 of Walking Dead now.
Yeah.
It was probably season 8. Who knows?
Yeah. But yeah, it's a really great show. I had a blast rewatching it through your reactions. I love when people are able to get through it. It's a really great experience for me just to watch it and again see it through fresh eyes because there's so many details to catch and like to pick apart when people are able to watch and share in their channels. Again, do you have any plans for the future for your Better Call Saul rollout? Is that something that you're going to like pace out or like maybe jump into a little more heavily?
So I've put together like I put together like season marathons for Breaking Bad. So, season 1, season 2, blah, blah, blah. Season 1, I think it's like two and a half hours long. Then the other one's like 4 hours. And then like, I'm going to put them out each week. And then I think I'm going to start Better Call Saul. Better Call Saul's going to be 2 episodes per video. Okay. I think, as opposed to just 1. Cause I've heard from everybody, including yourself, that it is very slow. It's a lot slower compared to Breaking Bad. And then maybe when we get around to like when it starts really amping up again, I'll start doing the solo episodes. But I'm thinking probably before Better Call Saul starts, it'll probably be like a month or something. I can't wait for all the comments to be like, can you just post Better Call Saul already? Like, what the fuck? It takes time to edit, guys. I think Better Call Saul even has more episodes than Breaking Bad. I think Breaking Bad was 62 and Better Call Saul 66. So, one thing I've learned and one thing I will do is not take a 2-month break between a season. Even though, ironically, you guys had to wait like 2 years between a season, because now people are too impatient and can't wait things out more than like 2 days. So I know even posting 2 episodes in one video, there's going to be, having to wait a week for the next 2 is too long.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
To give us consistent, flow every other day, every 2 days, and
it'll be so confusing. Yeah, or it'll have to be like literally 1 episode every 2 days, and then it'll be, can you post the next one tomorrow? I need something to watch with my lunch. So it'll be stuff like that. So I know I'm gonna have a good time with this journey again, and I know I'm also going to enjoy the comments. I know that's going to be a fun experience again. And like, it's weird because now the show has finished on my channel and, they're all available and that I am getting people watching through the whole thing, which, is great, but also pisses me off immensely because I need you motherfuckers in season 2 and 3. I had so many people like... when I was like saying, I might have to stop it because like it's too time consuming and I've got like more popular movies that can bring more people to the channel and that, it was, I'm just going to wait till you finish the show and then I'll binge watch all of them. And so it's like, and then as soon as the show's ended, there's a bunch of people obviously going through and watching the whole thing. And I'm getting comments on episodes in season 2 being like, actually, it was this. I'm like, brother, I have the whole show on just wait. Like, I realized this a couple episodes later. Like, just keep watching the episodes, man.
Yeah.
So it's like people commenting like I've just posted it last week. It's like, no, keep watching. So, I'm expecting... it's been a little uptick, which is interesting. I was saying the same thing with like my buddies at Bridgeco is like, I started posting season 5 and honest to God, like season 5, the first couple of episodes were doing like 10 out of 10. So if you're not a YouTube person, horrific, terrible. And I was like, what the fuck? Like I just posted the Face Off episode. This should be doing way better. But it was just people being like, no, I'll just wait till you finish season 5 now. It's like, no, I needed you guys. And then like halfway through season 5, it started picking up a lot more. And it was kind of, honestly, it threw me off so much because like I'd recorded season 5 of Breaking Bad back in September. So I was saying back in September, I'm probably just going to do Better Call Saul on Patreon, blah, blah, blah. So now they're airing, now the most recent one was 2 weeks ago. They're airing, 5 months, 7 months later after I finished the show. And it's like I'd already made that decision back at the end of last year. And now it's all picking up like a lot more now. And I'm like, fuck. And I haven't pre-recorded any Better Call Saul apart from 2 episodes. I'm like, shit, I didn't expect this. So now I'm like, I should have spent the last couple months watching all of that. And I'm like, fucking dumbass. Like I was not prepared for everyone to actually be like, he's actually finished. Let's go watch this. And now it's happening. So it's caught me off guard massively.
Yeah. Well, luckily, I think you have hopefully a little bit of grace period of people getting through the show, like you said.
God, I hope so.
Get some stuff backlogged.
I'm expecting people next week to be like, hey, dude, it's Thursday. Where's my episode? Like, give me a week. Please give me a week off.
Where's Breaking Bad season 6 episode 1?
Yeah, exactly. They haven't even filmed it, man. Why aren't you reacting to the parody commercials? It never ends.
Yeah, it never ends. I'm looking forward to it though. Pug, thank you so much for coming on today.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Just finished. We're calling it now. If it has a different title, you'll know why. I'll workshop that as I get it out.
Was the show that you like did before, where you were talking about shows and stuff, was that called About to Finish?
Almost finished.
Almost finished is crazy.
Almost there. Where can we find you on YouTube, social media, otherwise?
Well, on YouTube and social media.
Okay, good. Thank you for coming on, man. Appreciate it.
That's all right.
Have a good one.
You don't have to hang up yet.